Hello, it's Max, and I'm going to be starting a new line of Arrowhertz videos. Let's do this. Currently, I'm working on an Eisenhorn project because it was my favorite novel, and here we go. The first guy here is Quovandius. He's a mutant warrior follower from the Inquisitor game. I wanted to try to replicate the Inquisitor scale model, so I put some green stuff on his head and on his arms to give him some of the speckles he had, and then I made a doll and put the doll on his waist. It's kind of covered up by the gun, unfortunately. And then I made this out of a piece of plasticard and some, I think those were zombie banner poles and some corn berserker pieces, and then put a skull on his gun to try to make it as closely resemble the Inquisitor model. And then, I put the green stuff cloak, put some green stuff on his legs to try to make these bandages. I tried to wrap that around as best I could. I put a little bit underneath to make it, wrap around it. Then after I just took a piece of fine cast sprue, or whatever it would be called, and I just added it to his leg to make the little leg brace. Making cherubial, or whatever, was really pretty easy. I just took the demon host number 2, sliced off one of his arms, added a zombie arm, and then took a chain from a Stompa and some chains from the zombie set, and boom, done. I took this old rogue trader Inquisitor. I'm going to use him as Inquisitor Quixos with the demon blade and all that. I don't know. Here I have Kara Swole and Elizabeth Beckwin. This is Uber Amos, and I converted this hive ganger to be Lucius Slick Devlin. I've been working on this in this Eisenhorn model for a while, and he looked a bit different before. So before he had a regular Space Marine bolt pistol and like a huge sword, and he didn't have the staff on the back, so I wanted to make him a bit closer. And then I realized, he needs these shoulder pads, so I wanted to fix that up for him. And I gave him a Rogue Trader era bolt pistol, so it kind of resembles the gun he has on the cover of the Omnibus, which I'm not sure what that is. I'm guessing that's the stub pistol, but whatever. He has a bolt pistol at one point, so I kind of made it cover all grounds. And then he has, I think that's a Kroot pistol he has, but I'm trying to make that be one of his stub pistols that he gets. So the collar is actually really thin. I'm surprised it's not had any damage. It's working pretty good. So this was before I had primed the model, but this was what the Elizabeth Beckwin model. This is what I was going to use, what I'm going to use, or what I am using for Godwin Fishik. And so here was the whole group at one point, and there was a couple tank pilots that I put in there, which I wasn't sure if I was going to use or not. So here would be the main 3 characters, I suppose, of the warband retinue. There is Severina and Savora Devout. There's Kara Swole and the other 2. This was before I had primed them again. And so I had added a little bit of green stuff to the bridge of the nose area for this Imperial Guardsman, for Godwin Fisher, because he's a Adeptus Arbite. So I also added some knee pads, which they seem to have these grilled knee pads. So I wanted to make him at least resemble an Arbite, not just look like a guardsman. The shoulders, they still stay the same, but whatever, sacrifices, And so here I've actually started painting the Kara Swole model, and I primed and repainted the Eisenhorn model. At this point I was still working on the skin tones. I hadn't really started on them. And here, after I had primed him, I found that he was just way too black, so I needed to obviously add in some highlights, because the detail was all getting lost. So I was originally going to give him actually a wooden frame for his gun, but I had no idea how to do that, so I just went with silver. So here's Severina and Savora Devout, based off of their Inquisitor scale model paint schemes. And I wanted to go for an older Elizabeth Beckwin, so I gave her kind of a dark gray hair. I'm pretty sure her hair was black in the novel. I could be wrong. I thought it was black. So I wanted her to be older, so I gave her, you know, it has some gray to it. Although someone could say that, oh, it's highlighting. It's like, no, she's older. So here's after the highlighting and the gold, and I'm not sure if I added the little gold symbol on the shoulder, on the chest plate. And after adding some metallics, and then I think I had added some washes to the gold knee pads, to their faces, to the bodies of the demon, of the death cult assassins. And at that point, I was done and pretty satisfied. I was pretty satisfied with these. And here's a good glance over them all. I did some highlights on her dress, which kind of reminds me of Morticia Addams at this point. That's not bad. I mean, it's kind of cool. Morticia Addams was a cool character, or is a cool character. It's not like she's gone. So yeah. So here's Godwin Fishig. I added a skin tone for the glowing ring on his targeter, because it was the closest thing I had to the actual picture they have on Lexicanum. And then for them, I decided to keep their faces having where the parts where their faces are exposed, where most people would probably paint those as skin tone. I actually looked on the models for the Inquisitor scale, and their faces on those points are either partly metallic or black or red, so I just kept them with the way that they were painted on the original box art. And while I was working on this at first, I actually was also doing a Gene Stealer project as well. So I was kind of considering, hey, let's cross these over. So here's Quovandius after giving him a wash, which he looks a lot better with. It makes the details pop out a lot better. And then I highlighted the sores. Actually, I'm not sure if I even showed him painted yet in this video. Well, here he is painted. Let's put that out there. And so there you can see the doll's hair at that point. It's the blonde hair, the weird doll he has. Here's Cherubial, which I built using the demon host. The horns are actually taken from spine fists. From the spine fist that had the medium-sized little thorn on it, the little spike. I had actually snipped off one of the inquisitorial locks that are on the waist, and I had added that to Eisenhorn a bit after. I still think that he's a bit dark. I might want to lighten the skin a bit, because in most of the artwork, and I'm pretty sure on the box art for Cherubial for Inquisitor, he had very white skin, like really like chalk white. And this is Inquisitor Quixos with the demon blade, with his demon blade. I forget what it's called. It's demony and it makes you immolate. It's not nice. So here's some pictures of what I based them off of. Here's Uber Amos, the adept, whatever. Here's Quovandius, the mutant. And then next we have some Cherubial pictures. Here's I think this is a converted Cherubial model. His arms are lower and he's got chains. And then this is the out of the box. I'm pretty sure that's even the box art, like that would appear. Here's the picture, or at least Eisenhorn, from the cover of the novel, or the novel series. Here is Lucius Slick Devlin, the gunslinger from Eisenhorn's future. There's Severina and Savora Devout, the Death Cult assassins. Godwin Fishig, the Adeptus Arbite. The armor's a bit different than mine, but whatever, it's close enough. Harlan Nail, warrior mercenary, who's good with a lot of different guns. Kara Soul, another warrior who is in his retinue. There's a picture of Inquisitor Crixus. This one's in black and white, unfortunately, but the only one I could find in color was this, which is a lot smaller, and only shows you his face and shoulders and sword or whatever. I kind of went with a little bit of creative licensing or whatever, and I was like, I'm gonna give this sword this demony look, with this blood look. It's kind of cool. So yeah, that's them, and that's what I based them off of. Now see what you think. There's Harlan Nail in his black armor with some flak that he wears. Obandius. Trubil. That picture's a bit out of focus. Sorry, guys. Here I have Tech Magos Buer, which I just used the Tech Priest #2. Here's my my Lucius Slick Devlin, and then Carasol or Swole. I'm not sure how to pronounce that really. Here's I think that's Savora, and then Severina. Might have that backwards. And then we have, well, that picture is really blurry, at least it seems. And, well, that's Godwin Fishig. Hopefully it doesn't suck when we see it. There's Elizabeth Beckwin. Unfortunately, some of these pictures, I mean, these characters didn't have pictures for them. In the story, it said that Eisenhorn had 2 servitors, so I added in a couple servitors. And here's another picture of Cherubiel. I wanted to add in Lors Vibin, or Vibin, the bodyguard from the story at the start. And, okay. I wanted to add in Arian Prod S.U. Swadeer. And, okay, yeah, and then there's Uber Amos. Thanks for watching.